get this session off the ground. So good afternoon, everybody. Warm welcome to all that have joined the session. Thank you so much for investing your time with us this afternoon. I'm Tonya Lamb from SAPICS. I guess during the sessions that I've introduced, you probably have picked up on that already. My role is that of Stakeholder Engagement and Relationship Manager for SAPICS, and I have the privilege of moderating this panel discussion. This is a topic that's personally very close to my heart and something that I'm passionate about, and I certainly don't believe that 45 minutes is going to be enough, but we'll do our best. So the discussion that we are going to have is unpacking key enablers that will drive professionalism, close the skills gap, and raise the profile of supply chain management and procurement in Africa. But before we dive into the panel introductions, I'd like to get an idea of who we have with us this afternoon. You can see us, but we have no idea about who is in the audience. So, do we have anyone here who is in HR or capacity building? If you're going to drop us a note in the discussion chat to say yes. I just want to get a feel for the type of people we have in the room. None of those? Okay. Supply chain leaders responsible for ensuring the development of their teams. None of those? Okay, it's going to be very interesting to see who's in the audience then. Okay. So our goal today is to get you thinking about how, through your role and your organization, you can help us to drive professionalism in a way that adds value to an individual, a business, and industry at large. This is a discussion that's been happening for a very long time, but the discussion needs to stop and the action needs to happen. And in order for that to happen, we need the support of you and industry. So I'd like to make the session as interactive as possible. So please feel free at any time to raise your hand or post a question in the chat. We have a superb combination of panelists, which will allow us to explore this discussion from different angles because they all come from different areas. So they'll give us a different perspective on things. So I'd like to give the panelists a few moments to briefly introduce yourselves and share a little about your background and industry. So let's start with Dominique, because you're the first one on top of the screen.
Thank you, Tonya. Hello, everyone. My name is Dominique Swinkels, and I'm the executive manager for an entity called the People That Deliver. We are a coalition of organizations that are working together to raise the profile of the health supply chain workforce. So we're very much focused on the health supply chain. I myself am an international development professional, but I have been working in health supply chain management since 2007, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dominique. Dr. Obiora.
Thank you very much, Tonya. My name is Dr. Obiora Madu. I am the Director General of African Center for Supply Chain and CEO of Multimix Academy. Multimix Academy is the pioneer capacity building firm in the area of logistics and supply chain management in over 20 years. We are representatives of most of the international supply chain institutions, ASCM, CILT, CIPS, and all that. Currently runs an MBA in supply chain in Nigeria in collaboration with Malaysia University of Science and Technology. So I regard myself as a teacher, and that's all I do for a living. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Obiora. Sari, over to you.
Good afternoon, colleagues and everyone attending. Thank you for the opportunity. My background is from a corporate industries, but I've been with the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply, SAPICS, for almost 18 months now, and have also always echo what Tonya says, have a passion for procurement and supply chain industry due to the significant impact this function has on all levels in organization. You can make or break organizations. So passionate about making a difference out there, helping organizations and individuals improve the practices, their capacities, and support where needed with all stakeholders involved. Been 20 years with a corporate environment, also ended up in procurement without ever having a plan for that. But that just opened up the world for me on all the work there is for us to do. So yes, thank you. Good to be here.
Thank you, Sari. John, welcome. Would you like to do a brief introduction as to who you are and what you're about?
Thank you. I'm sorry I got a bit late somewhere else, but John Karan is my name, and I have the privilege of leading the national supply chain body here in Kenya, a membership of about 20,000 members, and hopefully counting. We are a regulator, we deal with three-pronged approach: regulatory body, which is basically registering members, disciplinary body also, but also welfare of the institute. So it is about a 15-year-old institution doing both the work of basically ensuring professionalism in the world of supply chain. But before that, I've really worked most of my life in Coca-Cola, where I headed the supply chain function at Coca-Cola Africa across 40 countries across Africa. I do consulting when I'm not doing the work of KISM, so I'm a full-time supply chain consultant. Happy to be here, and I'm sure we'll have a fruitful discussion.
I certainly hope so. So thank you all. So what I'm going to do is pose a question, and I'd like each one of you to give me your answer and perspective on what you think the solution should be. So the first question that I have for you is, it's certainly no secret that the supply chain management profession has been severely hampered by lack or inadequate skills for years. And this is not unique to South Africa, but is a global challenge. Compounding this problem is that the supply chain profession is fast-paced and rapidly changing. The skills gap has continued to grow, but this is now exacerbated by the ongoing changes and dynamics in the profession. How can we go about addressing this issue moving forward? So that was a bit of a mouthful, but I'd like to hear your perspective and from your experiences and what you're doing, what your response to that is. So Dominique, would you like to start?
Absolutely, I can start.
Okay, perfect.
Within the health supply chain, within health supply chain management, we know that hundreds of millions of dollars of commodities flow through a country's health supply chain system, and often the strategic function of a supply chain is not really recognized, right? And so, health supply chain professionals, because of that, also lack sort of the technical managerial competencies to perform optimally and affect supply decisions and policies. And so we're also seeing in middle and low income countries that there's not a sufficient number of people. They're not qualified either because they're lacking these managerial and technical competencies. And of course, this is often due as well to sort of the lack of experience, but also formal training. And so what you just spoke about, there's that very much that skills gap. And so we are within the people that deliver, we're very much focused on advocating for a professionalized body, a body that is either embedded within within either the civil service structure of a country, or of course through formal education through university and academic and technical programs. And so this is sort of the only way we're seeing professionalization come to life. And so we've actually developed within the people that deliver a professionalization framework where we're aligning a core set of competencies within health supply chain management to educational opportunities, to very specifically prescribe job descriptions. And we're hoping that this is the way that the supply chain professionals in the healthcare and low middle income countries can actually really start to map career pathways, and that both institutions and governments are going to be asking for these professionals. And so anyway, so there's we're seeing this, of course, so like I said, through both the civil service structure as well as through formal training, and those are sort of the ways we can potentially institute that. So back to you.
Thank you, Dominique. Okay, Dr. Obiora.
Thank you very much, Tonya. First, we'll start looking at where the challenges are coming from. People are retiring, people are not replacing them. And then skills demand for supply chain is also expanding by the day. During the COVID period, a lot of emphasis was on last mile logistics, both for the farmer and for so of course there was a huge demand in that area, and a lot of people who had no knowledge of what it is were just pushed into that very particular area. Then the other challenge is that from the school, we're also not bringing up people who will replace this, because you hardly can find a child today. You say, what course do you want to read? You say it's logistics or it's supply chain. So these are the challenges. So what have we done over the time was to design some courses that care for people who are fresh from the universities. Because what you read in your degree really doesn't determine what you become. So irrespective of what course you read in your first degree, you can key in there, and a lot of people have built a career along that line. The other thing is that there are also a lot of institutes and associations and the rest of them. One thing we're also trying to do here, we're making progress, is also to see if we can have an umbrella supply chain body in Nigeria. Umbrella in the sense that every other association and institute will be a member of that. That way, the voice will become loud enough for government to listen. That way, it will be possible to move the National University Commission to include logistics and supply chain management down to first degree level, as well as other institutions like polytechnics and the rest of them. That way, it will be possible to have a national policy in that very particular direction. And also, there are also a couple of projects. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation paid for a research and to find out why they are putting more money on vaccines, and then child mortality and maternal mortality was also increasing at the same time. And the culprit was supply chain. So they decided also to, through ARC, to fund, get universities to start offering supply chain courses. Of course, they had to start at the master's level. So we assisted them with curriculum development, with train the trainer and all that. And I think about 2 universities have taken off and about 10 others are in line. So these are the efforts. The other thing is also to get down to secondary school level, form logistics and supply chain societies, tell them, because it's so sad that for a career that is the fastest growing in the world, it's not receiving the necessary attention it's receiving. But I think it's our responsibility to push that so that the people in authority will also join. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Obiora. Sari, would you like to weigh in, please?
Thank you, Tonya. From a skills development, absolutely, we are aware that there's no real, under higher education institutions, there's not one standard across the country, for instance. Every university has developed their own curriculum based on what they deem to be important and relevant. And that makes it confusing for members out there, and they usually revert back to your BCom's, something. And we find that it's very high level, and the real technical skills often required to perform a function, so on an operational level, they might not know that. So So it's very difficult to enter the market. You've got a degree, but you actually don't understand how to apply it. You just have the theory. The value of occupational qualifications there is then that people can learn in various routes, where you can do practical training, apprenticeships with academical training as well. So they learn how to apply that. And there are various organizations and professional bodies and associations offering that. I just find that there's quite a lack of awareness of it. People don't know, and they don't know the difference between all these qualifications. They just know SAQA, NPF, and so what. So there's a lot of work we can do on educating our market, as we've done previous information sessions, to clarify some misunderstandings or misperceptions. People don't know what is a designation versus a qualification. And these are almost the fundamentals on where am I going, and helping them shed light on their career paths. And a culture driving performance. All of this would be wonderful, but we still have people being almost hijacked where they are and living in a private
Sorry,
sector.
you're breaking up a bit. Sorry. Okay. So, sorry has fallen off. We'll have to try and recap there. John, can we move over to you? You've got to love technology. You've got to love technology. We have everybody popping in and out as we go along. Okay. Okay. So Sari's back.
I haven't left.
No, you did leave.
Yeah. Oh, I was just looking at myself and everyone was gone.
Yeah, it kind of hung, so you dropped off and we've just lost John. So these are the joys and challenges we have with virtual
chairs.
Okay, but so I think I don't quite know where you got to, where we kind of left off there.
I might have got into the leadership bit. That's ethical leadership driving, and that's a wider umbrella than just procurement. It's driving the right culture that cultivates capacity building, that the structures support. While strategy drives structure, the structure needs to enable us, as procurement has to be positioned in a way in organization to actually, deliver on their mandate and not be inhibited by other functions, and it's a power play. So, and that's also echoing with what Dr. Obiora and Dominique has mentioned. So, we've got so much work to do. Let me stop there.
No, thank you. Hopefully John will join us again. We have a question here. Is there any collaboration with the private sector, with professional bodies and formal education sectors to guarantee employment and closing the skills shortage? Anyone want to put up their hand to answer that one?
Yes, the professional bodies many are, depending also on the focus of the universities. For some institutions, it's not their priority. They might focus more on engineering or other kind of faculties. But we've reached out to a couple of higher education, and we have a memorandum of understandings where we support them. My next step is how do we collaborate more to create a platform where we can get together for offering apprenticeships, learnerships, whatever helps those students step into the world and gain experience. That's my next. There's really so much for us to be done. But yes, we do collaborate for those who are willing to, and everyone's been under severe strain this year with lockdown. Priority was just shifting the whole teaching model. And so looking forward to next year, where I think we're a bit more grounded and can advance further. Because this year was a really, we had other survival focuses. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Any suggestions, welcome. If anyone knows of any institution that's willing to connect with us, happy to engage. So it's an open invite.
absolutely. Thank you. Sorry. Dominique, I have a question for you. Would you like to respond to that one?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Leadership is of paramount importance in professionalisation and staff development. I think Dominique can elaborate on this issue by giving real examples.
Yeah, in health supply chain management, we very much focus on leadership. It's a way to bring attention to the issues in health supply chain management, the issues of a lack of recruitment and retention, of course, of the health supply chain professional, but also the strategic importance of supply chain management within the greater health system. And so within health supply chain management, we've focused very much on how to build those leadership competencies. Something that we have been working on for quite a few years now is with Gavi, the private-public partnership for immunization. They have actually invested together with UPS into a leadership program called STEP. And we're actually now also contributing to that program and rolling it out, hopefully, in many countries in the coming year, 2021. And it's really a way to develop those leadership skills and working really closely with the private sector, getting those private sector coaches involved, facilitators involved to bring that sort of best practice into play. So,
thank you. Dr. Obiora?
I think I'd like to look at the question you asked, Sari, that is about private sector internships and the rest of them. There are projects, there's a local content agency of government that is responsible for building local content in different areas, including supply chain. So what this project does is that, like the last time we handled 12 candidates, it was to we took them through 5 different certifications in international trade logistics, freight forwarding, and all that. We also have the responsibility after the first 6 months to place them in freight forwarding companies for internship for the next 6 months. It's actually a 1-year project. They pay them on some allowances on a monthly basis all through the year until they get out. And what we found out that as we were completing, about 4 of them have gotten a job, 4 of them have decided to start their own freight forwarding companies and all that. So generally, we have a situation where whatever course we are running, we have some organizations that we are collaborating with. So the candidates have the opportunity to go there, because a lot of people are very ready to do free internships without collecting anything from the organization to practice what they have learned. So, and we intend to expand that. That's one of the things we are looking at, that if we are able to get government to listen and some policies can be put in place, and it becomes a kind of a policy that this has to be done, organizations can use that as CSR to help the profession, to help government. That way, the things will get better. I think it will be very easy to fill up the vacant spaces that are being left by the many that are retiring.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Obiora. I think we definitely are facing a brain drain, as they call it, as the older, more experienced people are leaving. And I think there's a big disconnect between how they work and how the youngsters that come in work and understand. So there's not always that transference of knowledge that we would like to happen. I think that, I'm not supposed to talk because I'm moderator, but I can get carried away with this. There was something else that I wanted to put forward. But in the meantime, there is a question that's come through, and this is quite interesting. So, is there a global governance on standards of practice and accreditation for supply chain professionals? And I think that we all know the answer to that one.
No, there are no required certifications or licenses specifically for health supply chain professionals. Don't exist. There's just no global standard from our perspective.
Okay. I think it's an ongoing problem. I mean, if you look at supply chain management, it touches every aspect of everybody's life every day. Everything that you do or you buy or whatever the case is, there is a supply chain involved. So if you look at that from a perspective of how many people work in the supply chain, and the amount of skills that we need, we are seriously lacking, and it needs to be taken more seriously. Which unfortunately it's taken a long time to do, but we seem to be making traction. Dr. Obiora?
Yeah, I think, do we have a global body? I don't think we have. We have institutes who approach supply chain from different perspectives. But I think that what we need in the continent is a situation where there's a cross-fertilization of ideas across regions. Mm-hmm. For example, African Center for Supply Chain, we are present in Kenya, East African zone. Of course, we are operating from West Africa. We're also trying to reach different components of this. Because some of the certification programs we're running now, which is virtual, we have candidates from Uganda, from Kenya, from Rwanda, and the rest. So that way also, we can share ideas, because the point is that we have peculiar challenges as Africans. If you talk about what goes on at the port, at the point of clearing your goods, people outside Africa will not understand the complications. They will be shocked actually by the amount of complications that are involved. So what that means is that it is only us that can provide a solution for such things. And I do know that challenge is almost across Africa. So a strong collaboration within the continent may not bring a ruling standard, but can share experiences, because what we are looking for is not a ruling standard. We are looking for solutions to challenges that are facing supply chain. Thank you very much.
Thank you. John, welcome back. I'm sorry that you fell off. Your internet connectivity is obviously not giving you a really good time. Would you like to just give us a comment on the question that we started out with?
Yes. I thought it was only Nigeria which has internet connectivity, but clearly they're infecting the rest of us.
Better than you now.
Okay, when big brother sneezes, the rest of us catch a cold. Anyway, thank you so much, Tonya and the team, and sincerely apologetic for what happened. But I think, just to recap the question that we started off with, I keep insisting that the problem is not lack of skills, and it's not lack of capacity, but it's probably lack of the right skill set and the right of the lack of, I don't call it, having a business mindset, getting our people to transition from the tactical arena we played in for the longest time to a more strategic thinking. As we all know, supply chain has evolved over the years, where I keep saying there's historical injustices pertaining to our profession. We inherited a profession that started off as a very low-level profession, where we grew up from a rather very, back office profession. And so now, with that, we've been thrust into the front line. The question, therefore, is that have we been willing to stand up and be counted? Have we been willing to stand and earn our seat on the table? And it's a mindset issue. I keep saying, in terms of technical competence, we got that. But there are those other issues that make us really earn our seat on the table. It's the things around communicating our value. I call it marketing procurement. How can we become marketing procurers or procurement marketers? So that the marketing people can sell you air, can sell you nothing. We have a solid proposition, really. But how do we package it? How do we put it to the people that make the decision? Because we are suffering from a historical mindset where people have looked at us as those people in the back room, warehouse, in the storeroom. How do we elevate our game? So it takes almost an individual and a corporate effort. It takes all of us really to change the perception, the negative narrative, that we have inherited as a profession. And individually, one professional at a time, within your sphere of influence, become a value addition, become a value creator wherever you've been planted. And I think slowly by slowly, with COVID actually having really been a blessing for us as supply chain professionals, it has thrust us into the epicenter of the action. So how do we seize this opportunity and take advantage of it to actually stamp ourselves as a power, as a profession to reckon with? So it's a journey we have been on, but I think things are happening so quickly that we need to accelerate that journey so that we can earn our place at the table. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And I do agree with your comment about earn our seats at the table. Supply chain management is probably one of the areas in the business that you can derive the most value from. And until the C-suite or the executives realize that, we're fighting a losing battle. I just want to, just talking about how we've been thrown into the spotlight and everybody's now talking about supply chain management. I think that the public health sector has probably been reeling during this time, especially with trying to keep up with what you had to do. And now you've got COVID to deal with. Dominique, would you like to share some of the challenges or areas that have really come under the spotlight for you in terms of supply chain in the public health sector?
Yeah, absolutely. COVID has really brought supply chain management front and center. Getting a workforce that's fit for purpose, ready to deal with a new vaccine rollout, new treatments that are coming on board. You need to have a workforce that is going to be ready to procure, so strategically procure the right medicines, the right commodities, to a workforce that can also, do the distribution, the transportation, the warehousing, inventory management, forecasting, just, the multitude of positions that are necessary in this workforce. And so we're very cognizant of all of this, and needing to think of all the sort of different approaches and methodologies that need to be in place to get the staff ready. And so there's a need to do some looking at workload, staffing plans, and I think there's people are just cognizant that this is something that is front and center now, and we need to be ready. So,
thank you, and hopefully it has elevated us to the right platforms and the right people. So, second question for you. Moving from the skills, what is the biggest challenge in the recruitment of supply chain management professionals? So obviously we're looking at this from a private and public sector, where we can. So Dominique, it's over to you again because we started with you. So if you would like to give us your challenges that you experience with this particular aspect with supply chain professionals.
Of course. I'll just summarize it because I know we've got 10 minutes left, so I want everybody else to speak as well. First of all, it's not for us, the health supply chain professional is not a recognized cadre of worker. So these roles are not filled by are often filled by professionals from other cadres. So we have clinical health workers and pharmacists and others doing this work, and there's just no need for that. We can have a supply chain management professional doing this. What we just spoke about, there's no certifications, no licenses specifically for these professionals. The academic institutions are not necessarily providing the adequate training. And so often what we've already spoken about, graduates are joining the marketplace and do not have those necessary skills. A lot of work that we've done as well is just really start looking at the labor market. Who are the specific systematic actors that are in the marketplace? How can we start looking at the supply and the demand for these professionals? And how do we fill those gaps? And then something as rudimentary as job descriptions are not being tailored to the specific roles with corresponding skills and competencies. So I would say those are, for me, the top 5 or top 4. Yeah.
Thank you, Dominique. Dr. Obiora?
Thank you very much, Tonya. I think the biggest challenge I see from here is in the soft skills. Mm-hmm. You can teach people logistic skills almost very easily, but it's very difficult to teach people soft skills. And the challenge is that if you don't have soft skills, you cannot effectively operate within the supply chain. So that's the biggest. So that's what I look out for. That's what I look out for a whole lot more. And I must tell you that I see a lot of deficit as far as that is concerned. So what we do is that most of the programs that, the program I said we handled for local content agency, the first thing we did was to take them on a customer care program. We took them on a customer care program, and then they were able to understand what it is, because it's all about the customer. It's all about pleasing the customer. It's all about pleasing the customer. So I look out for the soft skills. It's in deficit, but the point is that other supply chain skills we've been able to build into a lot of people, but finding people with adequate soft skills to drive supply chain has been an issue.
Thank you. Just from my side, a comment on that. I think that, and I don't even know if you would call them soft skills anymore. I think there are certain attributes that people in supply chain management that are taking leadership roles and that are going to take this supply chain ship forward need to have. So it's an aptitude, it's creativity, it's thinking about innovation and those sorts of things. So you have to have that right way of thinking in order to be able to adapt to a supply chain role. As you've said, you can have the logistic skills, but the ability to apply that and add value to the organization holistically requires the soft skills, if that's what we want to call it as such. Sorry?
Thanks, Tonya. Yes, agreed with Dr. Obiora about the soft skills as well. There's people think it's just theory. We find with a survey we've done earlier this year, soft skills are, communication is both hard and soft skills. And the way you communicate is critical because that links up with negotiation skills. Mm-hmm. And these are skills that can't be automated and handed over to a machine. So it's to the advantage of the procurement and supply chain professionals to develop these skills. There are many books, there's many resources to work on that. Yes, stakeholder relationship management, supplier relationship management. These are the things that help you get, achieve results that you won't achieve if you just, on a transactional basis. And as you evolve in your career, I would say they become more important from just a tactical function up to more a managerial strategic function. Mm-hmm. So it's to the advantage of those individuals, it makes them more hireable. And along with that goes to ensure that they stay relevant, continue learning. That's where the designations and certifications are so valuable. And that puts a stamp of achievement and states that sets you above the rest, that you have earned this badge of being a professional. It doesn't come easy. So it's worthwhile pursuing that. That sets you apart from the others and makes you a lot more hireable. And pursue it through whichever organization suits your career path best, even if more than one is even better. Because supply chain is so wide. That's my 5 cents.
Thank you. Sorry, John. I see you're itching to jump in, yeah?
Yeah, I just couldn't agree more with what the team have said. And the way I summarize it really is I have a very favorite picture I have: left brain versus right brain thinking. And historically, we in supply chain have been brought up to be more analytical, more repetitive task, more, kind of detailed, organized type of approach. So we have now been forced to move from that comfort zone of left brain thinking to thinking with our right brain. And I've got to say that ladies are normally more gifted in that area. Women have to struggle a bit more. To be more critical thinkers, more creative, I want to call it big picture thinking, business mindset, so that we think more holistically and look at it in a way of more, the word that keeps saying is critical thinking and creative thinking, which is really, as I think Dr. Obiora called it, soft skills, but I think it's more than soft skills. It's actually elevating our operating level, our mindset. It's a mindset. How do we think more emphatically, figuratively? We are now operating in a more irregular environment. It's not your standard operating environment where you get a paper, you get an order, you look for quotations. You got to think more creatively. And I think that in our sense here in Kenya, we are in a position, in a stage where we're creating a curriculum that speaks to these issues, so that our students do not just become people that just think more logically, but think out of the box. And and that's what I want to summarize it as. Critical thinking, creative thinking is what we need to inculcate in the practitioners of the future.
Absolutely. I certainly couldn't agree with you more, and I'm sure that all our panelists will definitely support that feedback. I have a question here, and I'm going to guess that, Dominique, it's going to go to you again. With particular reference to disruption of supply chain in the medical industry, would it be right to suggest that there is a need for the industry to revisit its capacity? With lessons learned, do we see evidence in the industry where there are changes in the way that these industries are looking at their production planning?
Yeah, okay. That's quite the question. Oh no, I completely agree that there's a need to revisit capacity. Even now, with the way COVID is disrupting the industry, but it's not just now. It's from this discussion that we've had just now, the last 45 minutes. There's just a need to revisit the capacity through different lenses. Like as I said, I think there's a real need to take a bottom-up approach and really start to look at what that labor market is, and how can we fill it with the right professionals, with the right qualifications, and how do we create the institutions that support these professionals? That would be my answer.
Thank you, Dominique. So we are almost out of time. I did say that 45 minutes was not going to be enough for us to even touch the iceberg of the subject. Are there any really burning questions that anybody has that you would like to put in the chat? Alternatively, you can reach out to any one of the panelists that are here and pose those questions to them individually. So I will leave that there to see what comes up in the chat. I think this is a very deep topic. It's dear to all of us that are here. It's something that we need to really push forward in terms of really getting this agenda going. I really like the idea of a working more collaboratively from an African perspective. We do have similar challenges, but not the same. So that's really important. I think a benchmark or a set standard. I don't think we're going to get a global standard at this point. We as SAPICS have created a competency framework, competency model. SIPs have something in place as well to support that, so we can measure the type of skills, knowledge, work experience, and obviously ethical accountability and behavior, which are really, really key components. So there's so much to discuss that we're not even going to get off the starting base. But I think that we've got to put this front and center, and we've got to continue these discussions. So we can all sit and have the conversations, but as long as we are doing that and we're not doing anything to move forward, we're kind of staying in the same place. We know what the problems are. We need to work on how do we fix them? So how do we engage with the universities? Sari was talking about that, to make sure that curriculums are in line with what the requirements are, because the universities can take 3 to 5 years to update their curriculum. I mean, by then, we're done. We've moved on. Developing people's soft skills, if you will, looking at the more tactical, strategic level stuff, getting onto the C-suite, engaging with the directors. They need to understand that supply chain is such a valuable, brings a valuable contribution to the organization. So there's many, many, many things. And we need to have this conversation again. But I did have other questions, but we're not going to get to them. So thank you for all your inputs and your insights, and for sharing your thoughts on this topic. I know that you're all the best people that we could have on the panel, because you're all so passionate about it. And hopefully we can do this again really, really soon. But I guess that the 5 of us will be floating around here for some time. So any pressing issues that you want to ask, please just send us a message or meet us at a table, whatever the case is. Thank you all for attending this session. We really appreciate your time. And if you've got any thoughts or suggestions on how we can improve supply chain education, fill the gaps, create more job portability between public, private sector, the list goes on, please, get in touch with any one of us. Thank you to the panel for your insights, and we are done. We don't have any time for anything else.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Dr. Obiora.
Thank you, Tonya.